Do you know what motivated him to play with a gender?
I think Bowie. I think Bowie, Jagger, everybody did. All the cats that he admired, they played the whole gender bending thing. David Bowie did it the best. Mick Jagger just as well, and most of the people that he admired did it like that. I mean, you take a combination of, you take a Mick Jagger, a David Bowie, a Marvin Gaye, who sang very sexual lyrics later in his career, and not sexual, but they had a very cool sexuality to them. But you just combine all of that, and then the funk of Sly and James Brown, and you had to come up, you chew all that up and you regurgitate it. You had to come up with something very unique. And so that's what I think that Dirty Mind period was really about. And Elvis, too. He was into Elvis a lot.
But do you think he thought like this? Was he conscious of taking parts of Little Richard, James Brown, Sly Stone, of course?
We all, you know what? We all were. Because that was one thing that we had in common. Meaning when I say we, I'm talking about Prince and I. Not other people, but Prince and I very much. Like a lot of people, that's why I get so upset when people would say things like Jesse does this, like Prince, or Jesse does. We had a lot of the same influences. I turned him on to Mamas and the Papas. He never listened to that stuff. That's why I think that if you listen to 1999, that dun dun blah 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 blah, that comes from the Mamas and the Papas, Monday Monday, and I turned him on to a lot of older funkadelic stuff that he didn't know anything about, like that. I wanna know, is it good to you, baby, when you... And I think that's where She's Always in My Hair sort of came from. But it was like we turned each other on to a lot of really cool music, because he listened to a lot of Marvin Gaye, but he listened to stuff like Prince would listen to when the song was fading out, and Marvin would be saying very risque stuff, and I never knew. So, he just turned me on to different things and I turned him on to different things. And so it all kind of was like a back and forth, but that's how these strange styles and mixtures and combinations of musics that we did came about. And the thing about it, Little Richard, we were all trying to be Little Richard. That's the whole thing when people say, if Prince and I, just say if Prince and I had a look, or if our face shape or something was somewhat similar, you have no control over that. It isn't like, I didn't know Prince. It wasn't like I tried to make my face or hair. My hair was the way it was. If you go back and look at my school pictures, and my face was the way it was. But what we did have in common, we did have a lot of same influences in common, and one of our big influences was Little Richard. And Little Richard was the first cat. He slapped on pancake makeup, and that's where James Brown and Jackie Wilson, they all got that shit from, because Little Richard didn't care. He put on the eyeliner, he did the whole thing, and he was like, his thing was, I'm gonna be pretty, and that's where we got that from. And that was really who we were trying to be. We were not, just like Jimi Hendrix. It was really funny, but when Jimi Hendrix went out, that's who he was trying to be. He cut his mustache like Little Richard. He had the headband on like Little Richard. He had his hair done like Little. He was really trying to be Little Richard, and so it was no different. He was a very, very perfect combination of Little Richard and Bob Dylan, and through that, came this brilliant osmosis of Jimi Hendrix. Was born out of those two great influences, and he played with Little Richard. He played with Little Richard for a good while, but he absolutely lyrically adored Bob Dylan, and that's why lyrically he was that. He painted the kind of pictures he painted lyrically. And it's no different from us. We're influenced. Like we Prince and I used to ride around the car in LA, and we were just like, we would listen to, we'd have these hats on, and we would just be listening to, there's a Sly Stones album, there's a ride going on, and it was just like, it was like fucking brilliant to us. We were just like, God, this album is just who he is as a musician. Sly was just so and Sly did the same thing. Sly took the James Brown horns. He took like the Mamas and the Papas or the Haight Ashbury kind of hippie-ish pop thing. And he put all that shit together and created this whole new sound. And so it's the same. It's like, it's not about where you got who you're influenced by. I just think it's tacky when I hear a song and I go, oh yeah, he got that from Jimi Hendrix, or that's a straight Curtis Mayfield chord for chord song. That to me is laziness. But when I hear people influences and things, but it's something new and fresh, I admire that because I knew that took work and the person put in the time to be creative. Me and Prince were so close and we had so much fun and all. And honest to God, if you ask me, when I think of Prince or I think about those days from 81 to 84, whatever it is, I'm telling you, we did a lot of laughing. We did a lot of laughing because Morris was really funny. Prince is actually really, really hilarious, and I just had a blast we just had a lot of fun. We had our disagreements and things like that, but I'm telling you, it's weird how, I don't know, maybe it's just how people are made, but I'm one of those people that don't really hold on to a lot of negative. I remember the good, I remember the good, and I remember the feeling of playing New York for the first time, staying at the Gramercy Park, and I was at the elevator and Andy Warhol is standing at the elevator and I'm like, the fuck is Andy Warhol? I remember stuff like that and playing the Roxy the first time and John Belushi was there. I mean, he's like, unfortunately passed away like a couple of weeks later, but John Belushi was there, I remember all that kind of stuff. I don't remember a lot of bad things. I really don't. I had so much fun. I saw the world. I played music for a living. I won awards. Gold, platinum albums. I don't know. What could you, wouldn't you want to slap me if I sit here and bitched about something? I would want to slap somebody that would bitch about that's been that fortunate in life. I think it's ugly when people are complaining and crying and bitching about it and they're like millionaires. I'm like, and I'm not a millionaire, but I know millionaires that are like, oh, they did this to me and they done. Shut the fuck up. You're a millionaire, you jackass. It's like people can say whatever they want to about Prince and all that shit. And yeah, man, Prince had our disagreements, but you know what? Prince put me on the map. He gave me my shot. He gave me a chance, and he basically, you can't deny history. The dude put me on the map. You wouldn't even be talking to me if it wasn't for that dude. Maybe it would have happened different, but it just so happened that this is how it happened. And I've always I will always, to the day that I die, be appreciative of that. I will always have love for him for that. That'll never go away. Because we weren't just like these working buddies. Yeah, we had our disagreements, but we were like best friends and we had major love for one another. And I was telling D'Angelo that at the restaurant, that when he traveled, I traveled with him a lot. And it was because he wanted me to travel with him a lot. Because he just felt that we dressed a lot alike. We were, he didn't feel like the only freak in the room. He had another freak in the room with him, with long hair and crazy clothes and shit and pointed-toed boots on. So we were cool, we had a lot in common. But he taught me how to make records. And how can I be, I'm gonna fucking be mad at somebody about that,